this new NAFTA trade deal between the US, Canada and Mexico announced last night, was that a relief?
Oh yeah, without any doubt.
So why was that a relief? Does that mean it's going to help for your production in North America? I want to remind our audience that Renault is not present in the US, but Nissan has a very big presence there.
Yeah, and Mitsubishi also is present. No, for us it's a relief because, as you know, the last and the worst situation is uncertainty. We don't like uncertainty. We, as industrial and automotive, in the automotive industry, we like to have visibility. In a certain way, it's more important to have visibility with the rule that we don't like than have no visibility at all. So in this case, I think there have been a lot of risks around the future of NAFTA. The fact that the three countries have agreed on something is very important for us. Now, we're not going to get into the merit of, who wins, who loses, and is it more difficult today than before. This is really irrelevant. What is relevant is we have an agreement that's going to give visibility to the relationship between the three countries for many years to come, and this is a big relief.
Nissan has two very big factories in the US, making about 60% of the 1.5 million cars sold there. Do you think you may increase your production in the US following this deal?
Yeah, without any doubt. We obviously, first, now that North America as a market is alive again through this agreement, we're very happy. We have large capacities in the United States. We have large capacity in Mexico, serving not only the three countries but also exporting outside North America. This, with the evolution of the market, will encourage us, now that we know exactly what are the rules, to invest. Because now we know, knowing what are the rules, we know how we're going to optimize our plans or invest more capacity in the United States or Mexico.
So does that mean an increase of investments there?
I don't think there's going to be an increase of investment, but there was a period of time not knowing what are the agreements that we have hold on some investments waiting for the rules. Now that the rules have been decided by the three countries, investments are going to resume again because we know exactly what is going to be the rules for the competition.
So obviously this is good news for North America. However, the trade war with China remains. How are you impacted by the trade war with China and all the retaliation we are seeing in China for imports of US cars?
Very little. We are obviously we don't like trade frictions in general. We think that this is not good for business. This is not good for the global trade. This is not good for global companies in general. So, but in this case of trade frictions between the United States and China, we as an alliance, we have very little impact from it. Doesn't mean that we don't care. We care about free trade. We care about open borders. We care about minimize friction between the countries. So that's just our situation.
Does that mean you could increase your local production in China?
We have always done that. In China we are 95% local, like most of the other car makers. I think the people who are going to be affected are the people exporting cars from the United States to China or from China to the United States. Or, obviously when it comes to raw materials, that means iron ore, aluminium, etc. This is where the impact is. But the lines, very little impact.
We are sitting in front of the Zoe. You also announced last night an all-electric SUV for the Chinese market. Yes. Do you think the difficulties encountered by Tesla is actually giving you more space?
No, we're not competing against Tesla because Tesla main offer is on the premium market, electric premium, where most of our offer is on the middle market in terms of electric cars, and now with the entry level market. So we're really not very competitive. In fact, in a certain way, we are allied into the promotion of the mass marketed affordable electric car. So I don't consider Tesla as a competitor, but the competitor of Tesla are more the Mercedes and the Audi and the BMW and Jaguar, not so much Nissan or Renault.
Do you think Elon Musk made a mistake by this tweet over the
look,
summer?
I'm not going to make an evaluation of somebody, who is in the industry and running his own company. I think, CEOs of car makers are already under a lot of constraints, and what we're trying is to make the best out of all these constraints for the benefit of our stakeholders.
But what do you think about the fact that the Model 3 all-electric Tesla actually quietly became #1 in the US over the summer?
Unfortunately, the US is not the largest market for electric cars, and today most of the competition is taking place in China, in Europe, in Japan. There is a kind of lack of interest for electric cars in the US, maybe because there is not so much support for the development of electric car. We don't see the support, for example, for electric car that we're seeing from the Chinese government, or from the European governments, or from the Japanese government. But I'm sure it will come back. I'm sure it will come back. So everybody's getting ready for the next phases of development. We are very bullish on the development of electric car worldwide, because we made the forecast that for the 14 million cars that the lines should be selling, we forecast to sell by the end of 2022, 10% of this will be pure electric. So we're talking about 1.4 million cars between Nissan, Mitsubishi, and Renault, pure electric worldwide.
We're also seeing the return of sanctions on Iran. Have you totally exited Iran?
We said, I still believe that the Iranian market is a very interesting market and potentially will grow one day. So we're not exiting Iran, but we're protecting ourselves from the U.S. sanction by saying we will do everything necessary to avoid U.S. sanctions. So we are directly in contact with the State Department and Treasury Department in the United States to make sure that anything we do in Iran is totally compatible with the sanctions system established. So far, so good. Obviously, we had to reduce a lot of our activities in Iran.
Like using this new SPV vehicle that Europe wants to put in place to avoid dollar transactions?
I don't think it works in our case. I mean, I think the sanctions are very strict. We will abide by them because we don't want to be, touched by the sanction. This being said, we still consider that in the future, Iran is still a very promising market. The day that they'll find an agreement around Iran, this is a market which is not going to disappear.
Finally, very quickly, the French government, as we know, still owns about 15% of Renault. Is a government exit a condition for the Japanese at Nissan for a merger?
Well, first, nobody's talking about merger. We're talking about how can we, in a certain way, create a group that would reassure the stakeholders of the lines about the viability of the lines on the long term and the sustainability of the lines. Now, there are many forms that we can take. I don't think anybody's putting conditions here. Everybody has one preoccupation, that then everybody has two certainties. The first one is the alliance is good and is working well, and everybody wants this alliance to continue to prosper. That's number one. And second, something needs to be done in order to reassure stakeholders about the sustainability. That's very clear. Now it's up to the top management of the lines to find the way which is going to answer the preoccupation of all the stakeholders. So this is my challenge, and I'm ready for it.